Hi violins! Today we're going to be working on page 5 from Essential Elements, and we're going to be moving on to the upper octave of the G major scale. So let's review the notes for the upper octave. You start with G on your D string, so that's third finger. You play open A, B, and then low second finger for C natural. You do not have a C sharp in G major. You play D, third finger. And that finger pattern is going to look like this. So there's a half step between 1 and 2 and a whole step between 2 and 3. Next, you're going to play your fourth finger a whole step above your third finger. And the open E string is a very bright sounding string. So you can play that note with the open E string, but in most music it's best to avoid the open E only if you're playing a style of music that you really want to play. You want it to sound extra bright, or if it's a really fast note and you need to avoid a string crossing by using open E, then it's sometimes okay in other styles of music. But in general, we want to use fourth finger instead of open E, just because the sound of the open E string is not as appealing. So your whole hand position on the A string is going to look like this. Your first finger is on B, second finger is a half step C natural, and then a whole step to the third finger and a whole step to the fourth finger. So make sure that you're being very, very careful about your finger placement, especially that second finger. And then when you do the fourth finger, it's a bit of a stretch. My finger is pretty much straight when I play that note, but I do try and put a little bit of a curve at the fingertip just so I can get the right part of the finger playing on the string. Okay, after that we play first finger on the E string, which is not low first finger but high first finger, so F sharp, and then low second finger G natural. So all together. Okay, so the G major scale in the upper octave is a little trickier than the lower octave just because you've got some finger patterns that might be a little bit new to you, but as you get used to those finger patterns, they won't feel any more challenging than the ones that you've been doing longer. Let's go ahead and start with the G major scale. Now notice that this one is not meant to be played in a round, so we are going to be repeating the top note in this one. Notice there is a rest at the end of the first line. You're going to retake your bow. Anytime you see the comma above the rest or above the staff, that means pick up your bow, bring it back to the frog to do another down bow. And we're doing the rhythm pepperoni pizza, 4 eighth notes and 2 quarter notes. Be very, very careful to tune as you go. So as you're playing each note, I want you to listen, assess if it's in tune, and if it's not, try and slide it into the right position. And remember, for tuning, if the note is too high, you need to move it back toward the scroll to make it lower. And then moving it toward the bridge makes it higher. So as you're tuning, it takes a while to kind of get the hang of this, but you need to be assessing too high or too low, and then knowing which way to slide it, and then eventually that will become automatic. But for now, you probably are going to need to really think about that, and it may take more than one try to get it right. Let's go ahead and play this one with the backing track. So if you remember in the last video for page 4, we were talking about how you need a little more weight when you're playing on the low strings. The opposite is true for the E string. When you get to the E string, you actually use that pinky on the bow to press in a little bit to kind of release the weight. Even just the weight of the bow is sometimes too much on the E string. It can crush the string, and then you get that kind of icky sound. So to keep the bow super light on the E string, you might need to apply just a little bit of pressure with the pinky to the bow just kind of functions as a lever, and that will release weight from the bow. You still do want the bow on the string, but you want as little weight as possible, and then using more bow speed on the E string to get the best sound. The E string is very, very delicate, so really, really important you don't overdo it with the bow weight. Let's go ahead and move on now. We're going to do the G major arpeggio. Remember, the notes of the G major arpeggio are G, B, and D. So in the upper octave, that looks like third finger G. B is first finger. D is third finger. And then low second finger on the E string is the high G. next one is a duet, which you may want to try and, if you want to try a collaborative music app such as Upbeat Music app. There are some others. Acapella is a paid app that I really use a lot, but it does cost money. Upbeat Music app you can use for free. It's got some limitations, but you can use it for free. Anyway, if you want to try playing with a friend, this would be a good one to try playing using one of those apps, and a great way to try out the app. This one's called Intonation Encounter, and it's a duet, so I'm going to go ahead and play the A part first, and then I'll play the B part so you can hear them both. And you can also try playing along with me. So when I play the A part, you could play the B part. And when I play the B part, you could play the A part along with the video. So feel free to go through this video as many times as you need. Here we go. I'm going to start with the A part. Good, and then I'll go ahead and do the B part second time through. B part's a little simpler than the A part. Working on this upper octave, just make sure that you're very, very careful with the placement of that second finger, making sure that you put it low so it sounds in tune. And then finally, our song on this page is called the Outback. So this one uses down, up, rhythm in the first measure and every other measure thereafter. So make sure that you're really processing the rhythm very carefully, and notice how the eighth notes in the first measure are placed on different beats than the eighth notes in the second measure. So because they're on beat 2, you'll start those eighth notes up bow in the first measure and then every other measure after that. How they actually do give you permission to use the open E string in the 7th measure. So they're asking for 4th finger in the 6th measure, open in the 7th measure to set you up for what's after. You can always modify these fingerings, but generally when they indicate open E string, there's a reason for it, and in those instances it's fine to use the open E string. So I hope that you have enjoyed practicing the upper octave of G major. Again, that second finger, work really hard to get it in tune, because that's maybe a new finger pattern for you. And it's very, very important that we're playing in tune. So good luck and happy practicing.